He took ibuprofen every day for his back pain. He took omeprazole every morning for acid reflux. He took herbal supplements because his neighbor swore by them. He thought he was being responsible with his health. He thought these were harmless. Until one morning, his ankle was swollen, his urine had turned foamy, and within 6 months, he was sitting across from me in a clinic, hearing the words end-stage kidney failure for the first time in his life. He's not alone. I see patients like him every single week. What we are discussing is the slow 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 sharp pain, dramatic collapse, an unmistakable warning everyone around you recognizes. That's what the movies show. That's what most people expect. But the most dangerous form of kidney damage develops silently, the way erosion develops beneath a riverbank. By the time the surface shows any sign, the damage underneath is often already irreversible. No warning, no second chance, no quick recovery. And here's what shocks almost every patient I diagnose in my clinic. The damage is almost always triggered by something ordinary, something they took without thinking, something their pharmacist handed across the counter with absolutely no warning attached. I've spent more than 20 years treating kidney disease. I've sat with patients through dialysis. I've watched transplants bring some of them back. I've also signed death certificates on patients whose kidneys failed for reasons that had nothing to do with genetics and everything to do with a handful of small, ordinary decisions they made every week for years without ever realizing what those decisions were doing. Tonight, I'm going to show you 5 of those decisions. 5 things that look so harmless, they don't even feel like choices. Then I'll show you exactly how to stop them, one habit at a time, starting the moment you wake up tomorrow morning. Stay with me. What you learn in the next few minutes may be the most important thing you hear about your health this year. Here's something most people don't know. Your kidneys don't fail the way other organs fail. They don't stop suddenly. They erode. They lose function gradually, year after year, until one day they cross a threshold your doctors call end-stage renal disease. By that point, your kidneys have lost roughly 90% of their filtering capacity. The damage cannot be undone. The only options left are dialysis or a transplant, both of which are life-altering in ways most people never imagine until they live them. What makes this so dangerous is that kidneys have almost no pain receptors inside the tissue that actually does the filtering. You cannot feel kidney damage as it develops. You do not feel the slow scarring. You do not feel the slow loss of nephrons, those tiny filtering units that handle the work your blood needs done every minute of every day. In a healthy adult, you have roughly 1 million nephrons per kidney. They don't grow back. Once they are gone for life. The only question is how many you have left and how fast you are losing the ones that remain. Now, here's the part that changes everything. The single biggest cause of progressive, irreversible kidney damage in adults is not a rare genetic disease. It is not an exotic infection. It is ordinary, everyday medications. Medications people buy without prescriptions. Medications people take for headaches, for back pain, for heartburn, for sleep. Medications that were never meant to be taken every day for years. That is exactly what we are going to talk about, starting right now with the medication that surprises my patients the most. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you reached for a painkiller without thinking about it? Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was this morning. I ask every kidney patient the same question. How often do you take ibuprofen, naproxen, diclofenac, or any other over-the-counter anti-inflammatory? The honest answer is usually somewhere between 2 and 5 times a week. Many of them tell me they have been doing this for years. For their knees, for their back, for their headaches. They thought they were being responsible. But here is what is happening inside your kidneys when you do that. Every non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug works by blocking an enzyme called cyclooxygenase. That enzyme is what produces the prostaglandins your kidneys rely on to maintain healthy blood flow through their filtering units. Block those prostaglandins regularly, and you begin to restrict blood flow inside the kidney itself. Repeated restriction causes a condition called chronic interstitial nephritis. The tissue becomes inflamed, it slowly scars, nephrons die off, and none of this produces pain until the damage is severe. Studies have consistently shown that regular NSAID use, defined in research as roughly 2 or more doses per week for sustained periods, increases the risk of chronic kidney disease by 30 to 50%. Among adults over 60, that number climbs higher. After 60, your kidneys are already receiving less blood flow naturally. They have less reserve. They cannot afford the additional prostaglandin suppression. The medication your doctor prescribed briefly for a sprained ankle becomes, after years of weekly use, the very thing that pushes your kidneys toward failure. The solution is not complicated. Use NSAIDs only when truly necessary, not as your default response to any mild discomfort. If you need daily pain management, talk to your doctor about alternatives that do not suppress kidney protective prostaglandins. Topical diclofenac gel, for instance, delivers the medication locally without the same systemic pressure on your kidneys. Acetaminophen in moderate doses remains the safest oral option for most adults. And never combine NSAIDs with each other, and never combine them with alcohol. That combination multiplies the damage. Do you take a painkiller more than once a week? Think carefully before you move on from this one, because most of my patients do, and most of them never connected those pills to what was happening inside their kidneys. Now, I need you to pay very close attention to this next point, because this is the one most patients refuse to believe. I ask my kidney patients another question. Do you take anything for acid reflux? For heartburn? For that burning sensation that creeps up after meals? The answer is overwhelming, yes. Millions of adults take omeprazole, pantoprazole, esomeprazole, or some other proton pump inhibitor every single day. They have been doing it for years. They believe it is protecting them. But here is what long-term PPI use is quietly doing to your kidneys. Proton pump inhibitors reduce acid production in your stomach. That is their job, but they also reduce magnesium absorption in your gut. Chronic low magnesium, a condition called hypomagnesemia, is a direct driver of kidney damage. It accelerates vascular calcification inside the kidney's tiny arteries. It contributes to the formation of kidney stones, and over time, it sets the stage for a very specific, very aggressive form of interstitial nephritis that some research suggests may not fully reverse even when the medication is stopped. PPIs have also been independently associated with acute interstitial nephritis, a sudden inflammatory injury that can cost you a measurable chunk of kidney function in a single episode. The research is now strong enough that the FDA issued a safety communication years ago warning about this risk. Yet millions of people still take PPIs daily without ever having been told to stop. So what should you do instead? If you have been on a PPI for more than 3 months, ask your doctor about stepping down. Most PPI use should not be indefinite. For mild reflux, lifestyle modifications work remarkably well. Smaller meals, avoiding late-night dinners, losing even modest weight, elevating the head of your bed, reducing processed food, carbonated drinks, and alcohol. These interventions, done consistently, can eliminate the need for daily acid suppression entirely. And if you must stay on a PPI, never stay on one indefinitely without periodic kidney function testing. That includes creatinine, estimated GFR, and magnesium levels. One conversation with your doctor, repeated once a year, can prevent the slow, silent damage most people never see coming. Has your doctor ever discussed how long you should stay on your acid reflux medication? If not, that conversation is overdue. Now, I want you to think about something I see in nearly every kidney patient I treat over the age of 55. Herbal supplements. The ones people take because a friend recommended them. The ones marketed as natural. The ones sold without prescription in health food stores, online marketplaces, even major pharmacies. The ones that come in pretty bottles with leaves on the label, people take because a friend recommended them. The ones marketed as natural. The ones sold without prescription in health food stores, online marketplaces, even major pharmacies. The ones that come in pretty bottles with leaves on the label and the word wellness written across the front. Here is what most people do not realize. In most countries, herbal supplements are not regulated the way pharmaceutical drugs are. They do not undergo the same safety testing. They do not require the same proof of efficacy. And critically, they do not always disclose what else is inside them. Heavy metals, undisclosed stimulants, undisclosed drug class ingredients. The contamination and adulteration rates documented in laboratory testing are genuinely shocking. Some products contain compounds known to be directly nephrotoxic. Aristolochic acid, found in several traditional herbal preparations, is one of the most aggressive kidney toxins ever identified. It causes rapid, sometimes irreversible nephron loss. Other common ingredients cause their damage through different pathways. High-dose licorice root can spike blood pressure and drive hypertensive kidney damage. Chronic use of certain fat burner supplements has been linked to acute tubular necrosis, and the combination of multiple herbs in a single product can produce kidney injury that no single ingredient fully explains. So what should you do? Treat any supplement the same way you would treat a prescription drug. Research every ingredient, verify the manufacturer, look for third-party testing certification, and most importantly, tell your doctor exactly what you are taking. Most kidney patients I diagnose had been taking at least 3 different supplements for more than a year, none of which had ever been discussed with their physician. That silence is one of the most dangerous patterns I see in clinical practice. If you are taking something your doctor does not know about, now is the time to tell them. That single sentence could save your kidneys. Now, let's talk about a habit that almost nobody connects to kidney damage, and it is driven by completely understandable thinking. That is exactly why it is so easy to overlook. Many people, particularly as they age, begin drinking less water. They reason that less hydration means fewer bathroom trips at night. They think it means more convenience, fewer interruptions, better sleep. So they restrict fluids. They drink 1 glass a day. Sometimes less. They do not feel thirsty. They assume their body is just adapting. But from a kidney perspective, chronic mild dehydration is one of the most consistent drivers of long-term filtration decline. Your kidneys depend on steady blood volume to maintain healthy pressure inside their filtering units. When fluid intake drops, blood pressure inside the kidney falls. Nephrons receive less perfusion. The filtration rate drops. Concentrated waste products sit inside kidney tissue longer. Crystals begin forming, stones develop, and over years, the cumulative stress adds up as slow, invisible scarring. Research published in major nephrology journals has shown that adults whose daily water intake consistently fell below recommended levels experienced a measurably faster decline in estimated glomerular filtration rate over 5 years than adults who maintained adequate hydration. The effect was most pronounced in adults over 60, in whom the kidneys already operate with significantly reduced reserve. So what should you do instead? Aim for roughly 2 liters of total fluid intake per day, unless your doctor has advised otherwise for cardiac or other medical reasons. Spread that intake across your waking hours, don't load up at bedtime, and don't restrict aggressively during the day. If you are concerned about nighttime bathroom trips, simply shift roughly 80% of your fluid intake to before dinner. Keep a water bottle on your desk, in your car, next to your reading chair. Make hydration visible, automatic, and convenient. One small habit shift, measurable protection for decades. Does your daily fluid intake resemble what I just described? If you have been quietly cutting back because of convenience, this may be the most important question I have asked you tonight. Now, here is the 5th habit that surprises almost every patient I mention it to, because it sounds almost too simple to make a difference. How much salt do you eat in a typical day? You don't add much at the table, you think. You don't think of yourself as someone who salts their food heavily. But here is the truth most people do not realize. Roughly 70% of the sodium in the average modern diet comes from processed food, restaurant meals, bread, deli meats, canned soups, frozen dinners, sauces, condiments, even items marketed as healthy. That sodium isn't visible. It doesn't taste particularly salty, but it accumulates inside your body hour by hour, meal by meal. Here is what that sodium is quietly doing to your kidneys. Excess sodium forces your kidneys to work harder to maintain fluid balance. It elevates the pressure inside your glomerular capillaries, the tiny blood vessels where filtration actually happens. Sustained elevation of that pressure causes glomerular hyperfiltration, a state in which your kidneys are running at maximum capacity just to handle the daily sodium load. Over years, that hyperfiltration damages the capillary walls. They scar, they leak protein, and that protein in the urine, easily detectable on standard lab work, is one of the earliest warning signs of kidney disease that most doctors routinely screen for, but most patients never ask about. Population-level research has consistently shown that high-sodium diets correlate with faster progression of chronic kidney disease, particularly in adults with even modestly elevated blood pressure. The mechanism is straightforward. Sodium drives hypertension. Hypertension drives kidney damage. The kidney damage itself raises blood pressure further. It becomes a slow, self-reinforcing cycle that quietly erodes function over a decade or more. So what should you do? Read labels. Aim for under 1,500 milligrams of sodium per day if you are over 60, or if you have any history of hypertension. Cook at home more often, where you control the salt. Replace processed snacks with whole foods. Use herbs, citrus, garlic, and vinegar to build flavor instead of relying on salt. And ask your doctor to check your urine protein to creatinine ratio at your next visit, even if you feel completely healthy. That single lab value gives you a direct window into what your kidneys are experiencing year after year. Has anyone ever asked to see your most recent urine protein result? If not, ask at your next appointment. That number tells a story most patients never hear. Everything I have described so far may sound like a long list of things to worry about, but I want you to look at it differently. When you put all 5 together, what you actually have is a practical blueprint for protecting your kidneys for life. I call it the safe kidney routine. It fits easily into ordinary life without requiring dramatic lifestyle changes. Here is what it looks like. First, treat every over-the-counter medication as something that requires a deliberate decision. Don't take NSAIDs reflexively for mild discomfort. Use acetaminophen in moderation as your default pain reliever unless your doctor has advised otherwise. Topical options exist for joint pain. Reserve medications for situations that genuinely require them. Second, take your acid reflux seriously, but do not let a pill become a permanent fixture. Work on the underlying causes: smaller meals, earlier dinners, weight management, reduced processed food. Stay on a PPI only as long as your doctor specifically recommends, and ask about stepping down once you are stable. Third, audit every supplement you are taking. Write them all down, share the list with your doctor, research the manufacturer, verify third-party testing. If you cannot verify, consider stopping it. Most patients I counsel discover that at least one of their supposedly natural supplements was either unnecessary, contaminated, or actively harmful. Fourth, drink water consistently through your waking hours. Aim for roughly 2 liters daily unless your doctor has advised otherwise. If nighttime bathroom trips concern you, shift the majority of your intake earlier in the day, but do not restrict so aggressively that you become chronically dehydrated. Fifth, track your sodium intake through processed food, not just the salt you add at the table. Aim for under 1,500 milligrams per day if you are over 60 or have any history of high blood pressure, and ask for a urine protein check at your next routine visit, even if you feel completely fine. That is the safe kidney routine. 5 habits, 1 decision at a time, real protection that starts tomorrow morning. Now, I would like to speak to you honestly for a moment. not as a content creator, but as a nephrologist. Visit, even if you feel completely fine. That is the safe kidney routine. 5 habits, one decision at a time, real protection that starts tomorrow morning. Now, I would like to speak to you honestly for a moment, not as a content creator, but as a nephrologist. I have sat with patients at 2 in the afternoon explaining what dialysis actually involves. 3 sessions a week, 4 hours each. A machine filtering your blood because your kidneys can no longer do it themselves. I have watched patients face the transplant waiting list, knowing that some of them will not receive an organ in time. I have signed death certificates on patients whose kidneys failed not because of bad luck, not because of unavoidable disease, but because of decisions made quietly, without information, week after week, year after year, in kitchens, pharmacies, and medicine cabinets across the country. The contributing factors were never mysterious. They were a daily NSAID for back pain, a PPI kept on indefinitely for mild reflux, an herbal supplement taken on a neighbor's recommendation, a chronically dehydrated body, a high-sodium processed food habit that nobody flagged as dangerous. These are not rare or exotic risk factors. They are simply the background noise of millions of ordinary lives. But that background noise, repeated day after day, year after year, can quietly become the kidney failure nobody anticipated because nobody knew where to look. Here is the greatest lesson more than 20 years in nephrology has taught me. Most of the kidneys I have had to treat did not fail because of bad luck. They failed because of missing information, information the patient simply never received. Now you have that information. The question is what you will do with it, not next month, not after your next checkup, tomorrow morning, with your very first cup of coffee, your very first painkiller decision, your very first read of a nutrition label. So let's bring everything together, 5 habits, 5 solutions. I want you to leave this video with a clear action plan, not simply a vague sense of concern. First, treat NSAIDs as occasional tools, not daily solutions. Acetaminophen remains the safest default for most adults. Topical options preserve kidney function for joint pain. And talk to your doctor if you find yourself reaching for painkillers more than once a week. Second, if you take a proton pump inhibitor, ask your doctor how long you should stay on it. Work on the underlying causes of reflux rather than suppressing them indefinitely. And never stay on a PPI for years without periodic kidney function testing. Third, audit every supplement you are taking. Tell your doctor exactly what is in your medicine cabinet, including the natural ones. Verify third-party testing. If you cannot verify it, consider letting it go. Fourth, drink water consistently. Aim for roughly 2 liters per day unless your doctor has advised otherwise. Shift intake earlier if nighttime bathroom trips are a concern. Do not let the inconvenience of one bathroom trip cost you 20 years of kidney function. Fifth, audit your sodium intake through processed food, not just what you add at the table. Aim for under 1,500 milligrams per day if you are over 60 or if you have any history of blood pressure concerns, and ask for a urine protein check at your next routine visit. Now, I would like to ask you something directly, and I genuinely appreciate your answer in the comments below. Which of these 5 habits do you recognize in yourself? I have a feeling at least 2 or 3 of them probably sound familiar, and if they do, you are certainly not alone. Most of my patients recognize themselves somewhere on this list. The difference is that now you know what to do about it. If you found this video helpful, please share it. There is almost certainly someone in your life, a spouse, a parent, a brother or sister, a close friend, who has been quietly making one of these decisions every single week without ever realizing what it was doing to their kidneys. Send this video to them. 5 minutes of sharing could become the most important gift of protection you ever give them. Take good care of your kidneys. They have been quietly filtering your blood every minute of every day throughout your entire life. Give them the conditions they need to keep doing that work for many more decades. One final thought before I sign off. Everything I have shared with you today is general medical information based on current nephrology research and my own clinical experience. It is not a substitute for personalized medical care. Before stopping any prescription medication, before making significant changes to your supplement routine, or before adjusting your fluid intake for medical reasons, please consult your own physician. That is not simply a legal disclaimer. It is sincere advice from Dr. Michael, someone who genuinely hopes you will be healthy enough to hear everything I have to say for many more years to come. Good night, sleep well, and starting tomorrow morning, give your kidneys the same silent dedication they have been giving you for your entire life.